Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide. Today we're finally taking a look into different pens for our note-taking devices. There's a whole bunch here, so let's dive in. This is the default old Remarkable One pen that came and shipped with Remarkable One device, and it's still available to be purchased. It's entirely made out of plastic with two different parts. This upper part is just hard plastic and yeah, it doesn't age. However, the front part here is a little bit smoother type of a rubberized plastic, and if this is exposed to sunlight or some other elements, I've seen very dramatic cases of yellowing. Now mine has yellowed this much over a period of 3 years, but then again I don't have it exposed on the to the sunlight, so I didn't have it so extreme, but some yellowing is definitely present, as you can clearly see. Pen does not have an eraser, but instead at the back it has a pop-up place where you can actually hold an extra nib. I like how the default white nib feels, and it feels very similar to the black nib that we find now in Remarkable 2. It's definitely a felt, softer type of a nib with a rougher feel, and that means that it does expand more easily and more quickly than the hard nibs that you can find on different pens. The build quality is good, but it does have that problem with the yellowing, and of course it's just plastic. However, it's good quality plastic, and overall the comfort is good and nice, but for extended periods of times and kind of use, it's not ideal. There are some discomfort issues when you're writing for a long time, so yeah, it's not ideal, but it's quite good. The writing feel is very good, but it does lack a little bit of precision, mainly due to the pressure sensitivity is a little bit on the harsher side of things. You don't have really full control. It's a little bit less sensitive than I would like it to be, and also it is, I think, 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity, unlike all of the other pens that we'll be reviewing here. As I said, it does not have an eraser, it doesn't have a button, it's just a marker with the nib, that's all it is. You can buy this pen separately, but it costs $65. When I put everything combined, I think that for the money, you definitely have much better options to buy than the Remarkable One pen. Now we have the Remarkable 2 regular marker, and you can see in my Remarkable review, I think in part 2 video or something like that, I go in depth as far as the both marker plus and the regular marker goes. This is my own personal one, so I ordered the marker itself, and I'm going to cover marker and marker plus. So while I'm talking about this, I no longer have marker plus, so I can't show it, but I've used it for over a month, well over a month, and I do remember how it feels and what the differences are. So right off the bat, it's much better quality than the Remarkable One pen. The entire pen is made of the same type of material, and it resembles like this kind of stony texture, and it definitely is a much better build quality and a lot better comfort levels. The materials used, the weight distribution, and just the feel of it, it's more weighty, it feels good, and for me definitely an improvement over the Remarkable One pen. Now the overall pressure sensitivity, precision, and functionality, it pretty much all stays the same because no button, no eraser, and the same type of feel. Even though it's using now those remarkable black nibs, properties are extremely similar. Yes, there are some minor differences, but in a grander scheme of things, they are basically feel almost identical. Here's the kicker for me. You can buy this, I guess, separately, because I can see it in the store that you can buy it. And it seems that when I convert the value from Norwegian kroners, is that it's $55 as opposed to $65, how much the Remarkable One pen costs. Functionality wise, yes, Remarkable One pen does have this thing to store your pen. You don't have this on the Remarkable marker, but then again, I would take comfort and build quality any day of the year for 10 bucks less than just a compartment for one extra nib. Now the Remarkable Plus is a very similar pen, so it's black, it just has a tiny little bit of angle here, conical, but same material, everything else is exactly the same, with the difference that at the end it does have the eraser cap. That's the problem number one. I was very careful with my Remarkable Plus marker because I got a review unit and I didn't want to kind of damage it or anything like that. So I haven't experienced the problem that a lot of the users are actually reporting, and that's that if their pen basically just drops from the table to the ground, the cap seems to be simply falling off and then your eraser doesn't work. And that becomes a very big problem when it's coupled with problem number two, which is the price. And the price of the Marker Plus is $110. Now, I'm sorry, but you have like $110 for a pen that has the exact same build quality as this one that costs $55, and you only thing that you get is different color and the cap on the end that falls off if your pen falls down. It's just ridiculous. So now we have the good old Boox Default Pen. That's the pen that comes with pretty much every Boox device, almost all of them, and it's been like that for several years now, I think 3-4 years. And I think that anyone who has watched my channel knows exactly how I feel about this pen. While the functionality of it is all great, and it actually, as far as features goes, it's pretty much the best one, ironically, because it has both the button and the eraser on the end. And to top it off, the default Boox nib, the felt one that comes with this pen, and the next one, the triangular one that I'm going to show, is actually not that bad at all. That's something that I also said. I do like the feel of that nib, and it feels very close to the Remarkable type of white and black nibs. A little bit harder, but similar type of roughness, speed, precision, and all that kind of stuff. It's very similar. So great feel on the nib. However, where this pen dramatically falls, in my opinion, is three categories, and these three categories are problematic for extended use. And that is, first of all, build quality. It's made out of cheap plastic, it squeaks and cracks, and it bends. So all of that kind of stuff coupled together means that it's very uncomfortable to use, at least for me, especially for longer periods of time. And also this bendiness and all that kind of stuff affects the precision a little bit. The second biggest problem for me with this pen is that even though it's supposed to be 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, you can't really feel that, either because the pressure sensitivity is calibrated wrong or it's of such a low quality that you simply can't utilize it. The end effect with this one is that you have a pen with a lot of features and a great nib made with really cheap materials. And yeah, it's quite uncomfortable to use for extended periods of time. It's imprecise and it has less than optimal pressure sensitivity. I'm not sure if you're able to actually buy this pen on its own. So I did a search high and low and I managed to find some, and they were selling for $51 equivalent. And that to me is just complete madness to have this pen. Even with the button and the eraser, it's just completely insanity that this should cost $51. So yeah, just no. Then we have the Boox Triangular type of a pen, which is resembling the Staedtler Jumbo type of profile, because you can see that we have this triangular profile, which is really good. So as far as the comfort goes and the overall feel of use, it's definitely better than the default small Boox pen. It looks like they're using a very similar type of plastic, but it does feel better. Maybe because of the profile, maybe because of the thickness or anything like that, but the end result is that it feels much more sturdy. You don't have the bendiness as you would feel it. You don't have the creakiness when you press on it, and it's not jangly and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a big improvement. As far as functionality goes, the button is gone, but you do have the eraser on the back. So that's a really cool thing to see. And as far as the nib goes, it's using the same exact nib, which isn't a problem at all because that's a very good nib. And the pressure sensitivity is also improved. So overall, the precision is kind of overall the same type of precision that you can get, but the pressure sensitivity is better than on the default Boox pen. So all in all, it is an improvement. Yeah, you lose the button, but it is an improvement over the default pen, and I think that it feels better. It's not something that I would choose if I were to choose amongst all of the pens that I'm choosing. It's definitely not the one that I would gravitate towards, but if you happen to have it, it's not a bad choice at all, especially considering that you can buy it for $46, so under 50 bucks, and you get functionality, all that kind of stuff, so not bad. Then we have the latest Boox pen, which is the one that actually comes with the Boox Note Air. And people have divisive opinions on this one, so I'm just gonna give you mine. I absolutely hate this pen, like even more than the default pen. First of all, it's the nib. It's the new nib standard. And the nib, as you can see, is really sharp and pointy, which is the good side of things because it allows for excellent precision, and it's a very fast type of a writing feel when you're writing with this pen. However, that nib is also one of the biggest problems of this pen. What do I mean? Well, it's extremely hard. So when you're writing with a hard, pointy nib on a glass surface, you get the slipperiness, which is completely insane. Things are a little bit better when you put a screen protector of some sort, or if you're writing on a device that has already a screen protector, say Remarkable 1 or 2. So things are a little bit better, but this does not compensate the underlying problem, which is simply the pen itself is just not that good, and the pressure sensitivity is again really bad. In the tiny range of your actual pressure pressure, you get the full range of pressure sensitivity, which is 4096. That's just not how it's supposed to work, because in the end it becomes extremely difficult to control and use that pressure sensitivity. So for me, that's a big problem. However, it's incredibly precise because of the this nib, and it's one of the most precise pens that I've seen. Now that's the plus that some people really like, and that's definitely there, absolutely. On the other side of things, you don't have a button, you don't have an eraser. Yes, it's magnetic, but it's badly designed, so the magnets are unbelievably weak, like really weak, coupled with a completely flat surface here that's very smooth. So the end result is you might as well not have the magnets, because it just doesn't work. The only redemption here is the low price, and this is the cheapest of the bunch, rightfully so, because it feels like it, at $21. However, I would rather spend those $21 on anything else, literally. Now we get to the dedicated pens that don't come with the devices or anything like that. So this is Staedtler Digital, Norris Digital, which holds a very big sentimental value for me, because I grew up, and it's like 8 years of primary school and a good amount, probably even all 4 years of high school as well, were basically 12 years of using pens that are exactly like this. If that's something that you're used to, that nostalgic value really does translate well, because what they've done is that they've made it, I don't know how, but they've made it to feel like it's made out of wood and not plastic. When you hold this, I guess the paint structure and the everything that's been used, it literally feels like the exact same pen that I've used for 12 years plus. Growing up. So that's a big thing for me, at least. The build quality is excellent. As I already mentioned, I guess that's as part of the habit, but I love the hexagonal feel, and for me the thinness and that hexagonal type of profile really fits perfectly, and it's something that allows my thumb to rest comfortably. It doesn't slip in the hand, and I can just write as I am used to. So excellent comfort and excellent build quality all around. The write feel is very different than the other pens, because it's using their own dedicated Staedtler nibs, and these nibs are soft. They are not felty, they are kinda rubbery, if you will. So when they are used on different surfaces, they feel very different. On a glass surface, when you're writing, at first it will feel weird. And I think that these, more than any other nibs, actually benefit from the writing in period. Because when you start writing, it feels very rubbery and all that kind of stuff, but then as you write, you get more used to it, and the nib itself gets a little bit worn, and then it gets this very interesting type of a feel. For me, that's a nice and a comfortable type of thing, and every time I go back to it, I have this like, ooh, this is so cool. Depends what you like. So if you're writing on a very rough type of a surface, like a very rough paper like screen protector, then it could be a little bit draggy. You can feel that drag a little bit more. Also, if you apply a lot of pressure and you're writing on a glass surface, you can get a little bit of that drag. Now that can be a drag for some. However, as I said, it just kind of goes away, and you naturally tend to adapt to it. That's something that's kind of interesting to see. So for me, the initial impression was not great, but more I used it, more I loved it, and then I just kept coming back to it and really liking it, because of the comfort, because of the build quality, and because of that writing feel. So no, it does not compare to the other pens, the felt tip pens, because it's a specific type of a nib. And as far as we're talking about the nib standard may look like the one that you can actually exchange with the other ones, but you can't. You can physically fit them, but it's something that I definitely wouldn't recommend because of two reasons. First of all, the other nibs are a little bit thicker, so when you put it in, it's not the best thing for the nib or the pen. Second of all, you're very likely to lose contact with the end part of the pen here. So I kind of constantly get the result, it works, and then it loses contact. But for me, the biggest problem is that, and basically what you get when you put this other standard, so this is for example the HP ZBook X2 nib, the gray nib, you get that second problem, which is, first of all, you can probably see that I can't really push it all the way in, and there's a tiny bit of a kind of distance between the thick part and the thin part of the nib. However, most importantly, you can see how high this nib actually is, and the base of it doesn't support it that well. So what you will get is that if you write harder, with harder pressure, you can break the nib extremely easily, ruining it completely, of course. So while technically speaking, yeah, maybe you can fit it in, and maybe if you push hard enough, you will have contact for a while. You will lose that contact, you will loosen up the fitting inside of the pen itself, and of course you run the risk of breaking the nib if your writing style is on the harder side. So no, for me, that in my book, that's not a compatible type of thing, so that's definitely a negative point here that you have to be aware of. Staedtler Digital costs $35, and I think that even though it doesn't have an eraser, it doesn't have a button, and it uses its own dedicated nibs, you do get in the package with it, you get a set of, how many, 2, 4, 5 or 6, 5 I think, extra nibs, and a tool for changing them. And also you are able to find it on Amazon to actually buy the replacement nibs. So just be aware that it's not a standard thing. If you don't like the feel of the nib, you can't exchange it with any other one. It has to be Staedtler type of a nib. However, if you take those things into account, the comfort level, the build quality, and the writing feel that it gives you, and the speed and the precision and all that kind of stuff, yeah, for $35, definitely an excellent contender. And then we have the Staedtler Digital Jumbo. So the Jumbo Pen is based on Staedtler's later design with the triangular type of a profile, shorter length, and this time it does feature an eraser on the back, which has a very rubbery feel. That's such an awesome thing. When you start actually erasing this on any type of a surface, it feels like you're erasing with the rubber. It's very authentic. I actually really like that, because I don't dislike the plastic feel of the erasers usually that you get. This is pretty sweet to see. Weird but sweet. As far as the nib goes, it uses the same Staedtler design, so you get the same 5 nibs and the tool and everything else as with the regular thinner Staedtler Digital Pen. However, the insides are a little bit different than the regular thin one. Overall, you get a very similar type of feel as far as writing goes. The difference is small, but it is there, that it feels a little bit firmer, a little bit harder, and a little bit less rubbery than the Norris Digital. In the grand scheme of things, they feel very similar to each other, so they'll have pretty much exactly the same marks, but if you're comparing them one to each other, there is that small difference. I'm not used to the triangular profile, so for me this one is with increased thickness and everything a little bit less comfortable than the hexagonal thin one. So but that's just a preference. As far as I'm concerned, a little bit less comfortable than the other one, but then again, you get the functionality and a little bit of a different feel. So definitely an excellent contender as well. However, it does have a bit of a problem, which is that it costs $65, which is basically $30 more, or almost double as much as the Note Digital. And for me, yeah, that eraser and just yeah, the different type of profile and that difference in the feel, slight difference in the feel, no, for me it's not worth the difference. However, if an eraser is an absolute must for you, then it's a must. Then we have the Lamy Star EMR Pen, and this one is the one that actually ships with the Superstar package with the Supernote A6, and I absolutely love this pen. This is just like a Rolls Royce of a pen. It feels amazing in the hand, the build quality is outstanding, the materials used are outstanding. It's just excellent pen all around. It has this button, which of course works as an eraser, and it has a very satisfying feel, and it does not protrude on the side, but it's pronounced enough that you can simply feel it where it is. So you don't have to fumble around for it, and you can even feel it with the thumb. So whatever actually you choose, it works. One thing that I absolutely love with the design are these protrusions here, because you can rest your finger on them as you write. And this is something that I do often. I don't write like this. I write by holding the pen way down. And this is perfect. This is just such an excellent level of comfort that, yeah, by far one of the most comfortable pens that I've used so far. And to top it all off, you can get full control over the full pressure sensitivity, and it's just the way it should be. So you can definitely see careful manufacturing and engineering actually went into creating this pen. So really excellent all around. The only downside, as far as I'm concerned, with the Lamy AMR pen is the default nib that it comes with, because I think it's too hard and a little bit too plasticky. So the end result is that it's very fast and slippery. So that's something that some people like. I personally don't. But the good news is that it's compatible with pretty much any replacement nib that you can buy. So Remarkable nibs, Boox nibs, HP nibs, and all that kind of stuff. You can just simply buy them, put in another one, and that's it. And that's actually what I do. So I take out this nib. I don't really use it ever because I don't like the slippery feel and the hardness of it. And then I use yeah, a different nib, and then that combination is absolutely perfect. Lamy Star EMR costs, I think, $66, depending on where you actually look for it. But, and of course, on all of these you can find different sales at different times. These are just list prices that I'm talking about. So for me, the Note Digital Jumbo and this one, they are very different pens, and they offer very different type of experience for the same price. Personally, I prefer this one vastly over the Jumbo, but I also am very much aware that a lot of people are going to prefer the Jumbo feel, the eraser on the back, not the button itself, and the way the nibs feel, because you do need to spend extra, maybe, I don't know, $4 or something to buy, let's say, HP nibs to improve this one. And then there is a difference in price of those $4. Overall, the price is the same, but what they actually give you is a little bit of a different experience. I personally prefer the Lamy Star pen. Then we have the Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen, and this is a gray version, and this is a magnetic pen as well, so it has magnets in it, and unlike the Note Air Pen, these magnets are actually usable and the surface is not as smooth as there is. However, it is also flat, so that's kind of a negative thing, but everything else about this pen is absolutely outstanding. So the build quality is excellent. The materials used, yes, they are plastic, but they're super high quality plastic, so it does not squeak, it does not bend, It feels very, very nice in the hand. It's nice and smooth, like a right combination of smooth and not slippery. It has a very, very satisfying button here that's silent but tactile enough when you actually press it. No, it does not have an eraser on the back, but you do have that button. It just feels, for me and for my writing habits, pretty much perfect. Since I've gotten it, I have a very hard time to use anything else because, yeah, I can try those other things, I can use them for several days, and every single time I come back to this one on any device and any surface, it's just like, it's like finally back to this one. It comes with these strange kind of soft black nibs, which are very, very soft and very, very weird to begin with. So it has that Norris Digital rubbery type of feel when you start writing with it. Over time, you do get used to it, but you do also get this kind of thing that I don't get with the other ones. And I'm gonna try and show it now on the footage here, which is that the softness is basically the tip of the nib is bending. And while it doesn't interrupt the writing feel or precision or the end result, the quality that you get definitely gives you this weird vibe, because you can unmistakably feel that the nib is kind of swishing, swashing left to right. So that is something that is definitely weird. However, by default, the pen, Samsung Pen comes with the 2 black nibs, the softer ones, and 1 gray harder one. And that harder one feels excellent for my taste. So if this black nib kind of bothers you, so you have the gray harder one, which is pointy, precise, not slippery, and not plasticky. It feels really, really good on glass or screen protector surface. Doesn't really matter. Like wherever I took it, it just felt excellent. And the pressure sensitivity is also excellent, as good as on the Lamy Star. So overall, this is pretty much my favorite pen of the bunch. And to top it all off, yeah, the nibs are compatible with the other ones. So if you don't like either of these, you can actually use Remarkable nibs, you can use HP nibs, you can use Boox nibs if you want, whatever. You can just put it in and there's no compatibility issues at all. And the good news keeps coming. The price is $50. So when compared to everything else, I mean, for me, this pen is a complete no-brainer. Even if it was like $70, it would be worth it for me. But to top it all off, it's $50. So yeah. And this is the Supernote's Heart of Metal pen, which is probably the most outstanding build quality and design that we have of the bunch. Simply nothing else even can come close to this pen because it just, yeah, feels amazing. Yes, it costs a little bit more at $70, but not nearly as much as the ridiculous Remarkable 2 Plus marker, which is just totally out of place as far as the price goes. It's disconnected from reality. This at $70, where you actually find it, depending on where you find it, you also find 70, 75, or sometimes even discounts, is incredible value. No, you do not have a button. No, you do not have an eraser. But what you do get is their new nib, which is ceramic. And that's an everlasting nib that, when combined with the Supernote's soft screen protector surface, is basically a pen that you should never change. So no, it's not compatible with other nibs, but neither should it be, because yeah, you just don't need to change it. Now the bad side is that, technically speaking, you should use this pen only with the Supernote products. Simply because you have this ceramic hard nib, which is precise and small and kind of sharp, so to speak. So it only stands to reason that on a glass surface or on a plastic cover, like on a Remarkable, I would expect some scratches to appear over time. Now, if you're using a dedicated screen protector that you can change over time, then only then I could say, like, yeah, you can use this on that one, because you're not writing directly on the screen surface, and the only thing that you're going to damage potentially is the screen protector itself. However, be aware of that, but it wouldn't be a complete overview of pens if I didn't mention this masterpiece of design and build quality, which is the Supernote Heart of Metal pen. I just wish that they would decide to make the Heart of Metal pen that can use the standard that other nibs use so that we can exchange it, and that it has a button for the eraser function. If they made this one to have all of those features and compatibility and this kind of build quality and the pressure sensitivity and all that kind of stuff, I would actually save up and buy a pen like that for that amount of money. And these are the nibs that I've been able to actually get and test. So I've been testing all of the combinations, these pens with these nibs, and the nibs are Remarkable 1 white nibs, Boox regular nibs, then the Remarkable black nibs or 2 nibs, then we have Staedtler nibs that you actually get with both digital and jumbo, then we have the Samsung black and gray nibs that you get with the Samsung pen, and you have the separate ones that I've ordered, which are the HP ZBook X2 nibs that you get I think 6 gray ones and 3 or 4 black ones. Now the HP nibs I ordered specifically because people kept saying like, this and nothing else, and specifically the gray ones. The black ones are harder and more slippery. They resemble the Lamy pen incredibly. I mean, maybe that's even the nib that the Lamy pen uses by default. However, these gray ones, my goodness, they're awesome. They're absolutely, I mean, there's like differences between the other ones, and you'll see all the the data. I'm gonna kind of show the slides and all that kind of stuff so you can compare how they compare in different categories. But I mean, it's just like absolutely amazing. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for that kind of softer graphite papery feel, these nibs are absolutely amazing, the gray HP nibs, because they have this kind of roughness and very, very specific type of softness that you get when you press the pen onto the paper itself. That's something that I don't get with the other ones, especially not with the rubbery ones, but these definitely have that additional softness. And when I actually couple that with the pressure sensitivity and the dampening system that the Samsung pen has, the feeling is really, really amazing. The only thing that you should be aware of is that, as you can clearly see, they do not have a sharp top. This is the HP gray nib that I have been using now for 2-3 weeks, and it's not spending that much at all, even though it's quite raspy. So I would have expected them to spend really quickly, but apparently for some reason they're not. Maybe I'm not pressing as hard when I'm using this pen because of the pressure sensitivity, quality, and the comfort level. Maybe that's the combination of it all. I don't know. However, for me, for that kind of overall writing feel, the gray HP nibs, an absolute must and amazing thing. And for different types of feels, for more precision type of stuff, I prefer the Samsung nibs, both the black one and the gray one, depending on if you want the softer or the harder feel. Both offer an excellent experience. Now, the obvious negatives of the Remarkable nibs is the availability. Basically, at this point, you can't really buy them, so I'm just taking them out of the equation. They are great and they feel excellent, and if you have them, excellent. However, practically, from a practical side point, not that great. So then we have the contenders are the Boox nib pens, the Samsung ones, the HP ones, and the Staedtler. Well, Staedtler is basically compatible with Staedtler pens. You can put the Staedtler nib into a standard pen, but you have to be careful because it's thinner, so it can go too deep. As a standard, it can work, right? However, you should be aware that sometimes, depending on how you place it, because it's a little bit thinner than the standard nibs, you can get the effect that it doesn't seat in correctly, and then you get like constant, even when the pen is not touching the screen, you get scribbles, which was the case here. However, in most cases, it works. So definitely something to be aware of, that it works 98% of the time. And if you do get a weird result, just take it out and reset it carefully and it should be fine. So yeah, while you can't reliably put a regular nib into a Staedtler pen, Staedtler nibs, if you're careful enough, most of the times will work in other pens, and they do give that Staedtler feel, so to speak, which is soft and rubbery but flowy and precise. So if you do like it, then you can definitely do it. If you don't want to cash out like a lot of money on the whole pen, but you would like to kind of test out and see what's what, if you find a cheap pack of Staedtler nibs, and if you have a different pen such as Samsung, Lamy, Remarkable, or a Boox pen, then you can just order the separate nibs if you find them, because they're not always available. That's like a caveat, but if you do find them, and you can order them, and then you can get a representation of how a Staedtler pen feels like to write. So that's something that you can try before you cash out, let's say, those $65 for a jumbo pen, if that's your kind of thing. So that's something that you can consider doing. However, for me personally, absolutely, it's these two. HP gray nibs for most of the situations, and for some more precise type of a feel, than the Samsung nibs, definitely. I found this to be incredibly interesting, first of all, for me, this whole process of testing these, because yeah, it took a long time to go through all of the combinations, and I didn't want to just write one line and then yeah, continue. I actually spent at least 3-4 days with each of the pens on different devices, so it took about 3 weeks of testing to actually get to a meaningful yeah, kind of conclusion, not just a first impression, but something that I've actually used. That's what I wanted it to be, because first and foremost, I wanted to find the best combination for my use case scenario, and of course in the process I wanted to bring you guys meaningful conclusions. So here it is. As far as the pen goes, for me, absolutely, it's the Samsung Tab S6 Lite. Now, there is a non-light version as well. I don't know about it. I assume that it's just thicker, but I haven't tested it, so I can't really comment on that one. But the light version for me is absolutely the best, and Lamy is a very, very close second. With the note regarding the Lamy Star EMR Pen, that this score I think would make sense with a different nib, not the default one. With the default one, it would go maybe down to 8, for example, because it would go like a point down in writing feel, but overall it would still be a very, very close second or third. And also, I just want to point out that while the Supernote's Heart of Metal scores really, really high because it's an excellent pen, you have to keep in mind that you should not use it on any other device than the Supernote unless you have a dedicated screen protector on your device that you can exchange and that you can actually monitor if the scratches do appear or not, because it's a hard ceramic surface. But overall, as scores go, and for me personally, Samsung wins. Then we have the nib comparisons, and here I'm going to show the categories and how each of the nibs actually scored in different categories. Now, it doesn't make sense to actually make a total score for nibs as far as I'm concerned, because they have different characteristics. So hardness carries, for example, 10 in hardness is not necessarily better for certain users. Cumulative scoring doesn't make much sense, especially because these kinds of needs and preferences are going to vary from user to user and from use case scenario to use case scenario. I wanted to prepare this kind of breakdown of categories so that you can see and roughly judge what type of a nib would fit your needs best. As far as my needs go, and as far as my overall preferences devices go, it's definitely the HP ZBook X2 gray nibs for overall use, and the black or gray nibs of the Samsung pen. So those are my favorite nibs from the bunch. And now we get to the summary of which pen and nib combination, as far as I'm concerned, is the best for Boox devices without the screen protector, Boox devices with screen protector, Remarkable 1 or 2, and the Supernote. But before I go there, I have to add one note as far as the Remarkable goes. Unlike other devices, only on Remarkable, the eraser button, so the pens that have an eraser button, for example, Boox Default Pen, Samsung, Lamy, when you press the button, only on Remarkable the eraser function doesn't work, it just kind of draws. However, if you have a pen, for example, Staedtler Jumbo and the default Boox pen and the triangular Boox pens, so basically those that have a dedicated sensor on the back of the pen, that works on the Remarkable. So why it's like that? I guess, again, as everything else with Remarkable software implementation, because these pens with the button, the eraser works perfectly fine on Supernote, and of course it works perfectly fine on all of the Boox devices. So it's only the Remarkable that doesn't support that at the moment. And now on to the summary. The best pen with nibs combination for Boox devices without a screen protector has to be Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen with the HP ZBook X2 gray nibs. That combination is absolutely fantastic and it just blows the competition away. Best pen and nib combination for Boox devices with a screen protector, for me personally, it is again the Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen, but this time with the Samsung's gray nib, because it offers that hardness but also precision, and it's not as rough on a rough screen protector as the HP nib is. Best combination of the pen and nib for the Remarkable, for me personally, it is again the Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen with the HP ZBook X2 gray nib. Again, that softness and that papery feel actually noticeably better than the default Remarkable nibs and pens. For the Supernote, A6 or A6X, and I imagine for A5 and A5X because they have the same type of surface, it's again for me the Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen with the HP ZBook X2 gray nibs. For me, the best overall contender, like for all purposes and all kind of everyday use, has to be the Samsung Tab S6 Lite Pen plus the HP ZBook X2 gray nibs. That combination is just absolutely outstanding. Very, very close second is Lamy Pen with the same HP gray nibs, because that just again feels really, really good. It's just a little bit more comfortable because of the thinness and just how it sits in the hand, and the dampening in the Samsung pen is just a little bit better than on the Lamy pen. So those two things for me kind of edge it out into the first place. And I've noticed that I can write for hours and it just doesn't matter. Plus it has a magnet, so I use it with my Note Air, and it can attach to the side of the device much better than the original Note Air Pen, for example. So yeah, it's a win-win for me, definitely. I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, testing it and preparing for it, and I hope that you actually find it useful. If you're interested in some of those products, you can find the links down below in the video description on Amazon for each one of these, where you can find them and what can you do. So not all devices and not all nibs are covered, but ones that you can find are listed down below. If you like the video, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell. It helps the channel and it helps you stay notified when new interesting videos come out from My Deep Guide. Also, if you like what I do, you can check out the Patreon My Deep Guide page, where if you decide to become an official patron, then you get exclusive behind the scenes videos and kind of bloggy vloggy type of content a couple of times a month. That's it from me. Have a great Saturday and see you next week. Bye!